My name is Rob Wallace, I am your life coach and spiritual mentor, and this is Self-Love with Law of Attraction. Hello lovely people, and welcome to Module 13 of your Self-Love and Law of Attraction course. And today's topic is going to cover the subject of anxiety. Now, the reason I've included this subject in this entire course is because a lot of people who are finding themselves, a lot of people who are on the journey to self-discovery, more often than not, have experienced anxiety at some point in their life. And anxiety, especially in today's culture, has become so prominent that many people are in search of how to overcome what we know today as anxiety. So I'm going to cover this subject as much as I can within the time frame that I have to discuss it within this module. And what I'm also going to do is I'm going to give you a little exercise to practice in order to overcome anxiety. And also this same exercise is wonderful for manifesting. But first of all, I'm going to explore the topic of anxiety and what it is in terms of how it processes in your mind. And I'm also going to discuss what anxiety is in relation to your perception of the outside world. But first of all, anxiety in the mind, what anxiety is fear of the unknown. Now, I'm going to retranslate that into something a little bit more palatable, something a little bit more understandable, okay? Anxiety, as I just said, is fear of the unknown. What that means is anxiety is the fear of not knowing a solution. And even further, anxiety is the fear of not understanding what the problem is. And really, what that is, if you retranslate it, is anxiety is you looking for a solution to a problem that doesn't exist. It's what Jean Baudrillard calls pataphysics. And it was given that term because what pataphysics is, what it's defined as, is a solution to a problem which doesn't exist. Think about that for a second. And so what that means in terms of anxiety is when the mind goes into overdrive, it's because the mind has invented a problem that doesn't exist. And therefore it's trying to invent a solution which doesn't currently exist because the problem which it's perceiving doesn't exist. And therefore the mind has no idea what the problem is, and therefore it can't find the solution. And therefore the mind goes into overdrive regarding that solution. And the reason people become anxious at all is really down to how they are perceiving the outside world. It's your reaction to the outside world which is making you think that there is a problem which doesn't exist, and therefore the mind is trying to create a solution. And it can't find a solution because the problem doesn't exist. You see, I'm going to give you a little bit of an example. Consider our entire political landscape, right? This is just one example. The political landscape is built on telling you that there is an invisible enemy, right? An enemy of any sort, an enemy which you can't see. That's what the entire political landscape has been built upon. It's telling you that you have to worry about something which you cannot see. And therefore, what it's also telling you is that you're not capable of thinking up of a solution to something you can't see. But your mind ends up trying to look for a solution to a problem that doesn't exist. And this also applies to your personal life. In today's culture, in all aspects, not just the political world, but in every single aspect, whether it's music, fashion, whether it's your friends, the educational system. We are being taught to look for problems that don't exist. And therefore, we're being taught to try and create solutions for problems that don't exist. My course is not presenting you with a problem. My course is presenting you with a solution that some people just can't see. Now, if I want to get real deep with this, there is no problem. All there is a solution, an ever-growing solution. There is no problem. So what I'm saying is, when you become anxious about anything, it's because you have allowed yourself to become so influenced by outside factors telling you about a problem that doesn't exist. On a personal level, that problem might be something to do with money. Someone's telling you that you're not rich enough. Someone is telling you that you're not beautiful enough. Somebody is telling you you're not healthy enough. You are wealth. You don't need to go looking for it. You are the solution to your own wealth. No one can provide you with the ultimate wealth, which is love. And when you realize that, you will manifest wealth on the outside. So if you're looking for a problem to wealth, there is no problem. The solution of wealth is inside of you. You have the wealth of love. If someone is telling you you're worthless and you're trying to find out how you're useful, love is your ultimate usefulness. When you realize love, you realize that you're full of use. Love solves all of problems. And you already have love. There's no need to go creating a problem which doesn't exist. And to go further, the reason one becomes anxious, it's because what I've already said in earlier modules. When you repeat a belief often enough in your head, that belief becomes true. So if you keep telling yourself that there's an invisible enemy, then you'll get an invisible enemy. You will get an invisible problem which you cannot identify. So if you believe that somewhere on the outside world an invisible problem exists which you have no control over, you're going to manifest a problem which you cannot see or identify. And that creates anxiety, because you're saying to yourself that you're worried about a problem that you cannot see, and therefore you're manifesting the feelings regarding a problem you can't see, and that's why you become anxious, because your mind goes into the fight or flight mode without providing you with clear evidence of where the problem is. It's because you've convinced yourself that the problem is invisible and cannot be solved. You see, that's how anxiety processes. Now, for example, say you were faced with a lion, right? Roaring its head off right in front of you. You're not necessarily going to have an anxiety attack because the threat is logical, and so you turn and run. You see, you take inspired action immediately. And you do that with any threat that you can see. For example, if a car's coming racing up the road, you don't cross the road. You stay where you are, and you take inspired action by waiting for that car to pass. You don't have a panic attack over it. Now, this applies to any threat that you see in life that's there physically in front of you. When you perceive that threat, you obviously get scared, but you're not fearing the fear. You understand? With anxiety, you're fearing fear. When you're faced with a threat, you don't fear the fear. Your mind goes into solution mode. Your mind goes into, how do I get out of this problem? So anxiety is created in the mind. Anxiety is something which you're convincing yourself of. And all that takes is for you to change your thought pattern. You need to stop believing that there's an invisible enemy. There's no invisible enemy. The only thing that's invisible is God, the creator, source energy, the one divine energy that runs through all of things. God has no opposition. There's no opposition to the one invisible law which governs all of creation. And when you realize that, you will realize that there is nothing against you and that everything is for you. It doesn't matter if someone is trying to convince you of an invisible enemy. You know perfectly well that there's no invisible enemy. You know that it's a choice. You know perfectly well that you're choosing to believe in something that doesn't exist. And that's why many people in culture today end up anxious, because they're being taught to believe in problems that aren't really there. Life isn't that complex. People have made it complex. There is easy solutions to all aspects of life. But today's culture is so caught up in the mentality that life is complex and it can't be figured out. Life can not only be figured out, the answer is so simple that people find that answer hard to believe. People find it so hard to believe that the answer to life is actually really simple. Profound, but simple. And the answer is within you. When you realize who you are, when you validate your own thoughts, and when you understand that love is a creational force, when you understand that love creates all things, then everything becomes clear. You see, everything becomes more clearer. You see the connections in all things, and you realize that everything is one. And in regards to anxiety, you realize that there is nothing to worry about. So let's dive into how you can alleviate anxiety and how the same exercise can help you manifest anything you want. Okay? It's called shamanic tapping. Now, if any of you have actually practiced methods of relaxing yourself during times of anxiety, you may be familiar with this process. But for those of you who are not, this is why I'm doing this module. It's to give you this exercise. Now, what I want you to do, you can practice this even now, is to simply tap your forehead. Now, you can use various parts of your body. Okay, you can use your shoulder. You can use your chin. You can use your nose. You can tap any part of your body, but the best place to start is your forehead. Okay? Tap your forehead gently. Don't do it rapidly. Do it as gently as you can. And I'll tell you what this is going to do. It makes the mind focus on one area, and it takes the mind away from the focus of anxiety. But there's a real trick to this, okay? If you're anxious and you feel that it's reaching that peak, more often than not, people tend to give up. But the real trick is to keep going in spite of that peak, you see? If you can keep tapping through that peak, because what you're training your mind to do is to relax and to focus on one thing. And if you could focus on that one thing every time you have an anxiety attack, which should hopefully reduce the more you practice this exercise. But if you practice it often enough, what's going to happen is that your mind, as soon as you have an anxiety attack, is going to kick in to focusing in on that one thought, and that is tapping. Okay? You're going to train your mind to very quickly take its focus away from the anxiety attack and therefore reduce the time that the anxiety attack lasts. Okay? It's going to reduce the extremity of the experience. So just keep tapping your head. And you could do it right now because you can do it as a form of meditation. You just tap your head gently, slowly, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You can even go a little bit slower than that. Just tap your head slowly every time you have an anxiety attack and breathe slowly. And you just take nice, slow breaths and focus on one thing. If you really want to get into overcoming anxiety, a good thing to have around your house is pictures, peaceful pictures, and stand still at those pictures, or you can sit still and focus on those pictures. Focus on the colours, focus on the location, and just tap your head gently. This makes the mind focus sharp on exactly the process of tapping. It's a neutral process. It's not a threatening process. It's a neutral, peaceful, unbiased process, and the mind views it as something safe. Now, how does shamanic tapping work in manifesting? Well, I'm going to explain this to you, and hopefully when you learn how it works in manifesting, it should deepen your understanding of how you can use this exercise to overcome anxiety. When you manifest, one of the aims is to focus sharply on the desire that you wish. And what shamanic tapping does, it stops your mind from thinking about all the chitter chatter. You see, that lower mind, the ego mind, chitter chatters constantly all day long. It's a little chatterbox. And what shamanic tapping does is it relaxes the chitter chatter. That's why it's great for anxiety. It relaxes the chitter chatter in your head and it makes you focus on that one thought. So in terms of manifesting, you can simply tap your head, your chin, your nose, and your shoulders. You can do them all together. You can just choose one spot, whatever works for you. And as you're tapping, you can tell yourself, I am manifesting £10,000. I am manifesting a new car. Whatever it is you want to manifest, you will say, I am manifesting whatever it is you want. And then you'll say, it comes to me in divine order through divine love. And you keep repeating this as you tap your head. Okay? And you keep doing this. You tap your shoulders, you tap your nose, and keep repeating these affirmations. You can switch it up. You can say, I am manifesting £10,000. It comes to me in divine order through divine love. I am manifesting myself into the receptive mode of £10,000. Do you see what I'm saying? You can switch up your affirmations, okay? And what to do is at the end of each line, remember to say it comes in divine order through divine love. And from that, you could just keep switching up the I am part of the phrase. And you keep on doing that. You keep tapping your head, you tap your shoulders. And once you're done with that exercise, say after 5 minutes or 10 minutes, or however long you feel good doing that exercise, okay? Once you're finished with that exercise, clasp your hands together, rub your hands together, and then close your eyes, and then blow in your hands very gently, just a blow, and make sure your eyes are closed, and slowly separate your hands, and imagine your manifestation there in your hands. And again, this is making you focus on one action, which is separating your hands and creating that image within your hands, okay? This is great for anxiety, and it's also great for helping you visualize and feel your manifestations. Remember, feeling is the secret as well. You've got to feel that wonderful feeling of knowing that your manifestation is already real. And if you learn how to master this technique, not only will this one method help you manifest, it will also help you to reduce your anxiety. Okay, now this concludes Module 13, folks, and I will see you lovely, gorgeous people in the next module. Have a great day, God bless, and I'll see you later, folks. Bye-bye.